Hello and welcome to another edition of the Monday Night Wars. It is November 25th, 1996, and we're at the, I know I'm going to get this wrong, Wicomico Civic Center, Wicomico Wicomico Civic Center in Salisbury, Maryland. Might be Salisbury. I think it's pronounced Salisbury because it's named after a British Prime Minister, Marquis of Salisbury, but it's spelled.
It's just named after a steak.
I think he did the Salisbury steak, or the Salisbury steak was named in his honor. Okay.
Not possible.
But this is one of those things where it's pronounced one way, but locals may pronounce it a different way. Like when you get there, go, no, that's Salisbury.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. Salisbury or Salisbury? I don't know. Maryland. You let us know, all of our listeners in Maryland, of which there are legion, because we have so many fans everywhere. Anyways, we got Nitro. This is the night after World War III. We get to see some stills. They're showing us some images from the Piper Hogan contract signing. They got a match for Starrcade. It is signed. And then they beat his ass. They beat Piper's ass.
Why are you telling everybody what happened, man?
Well, I mean, because it's in the stills. They can see it.
Yeah, but they still got to listen to the Patreon.
Oh, okay. All right. You could get this for free on Nitro, but you won't get it for free from us.
100%.
And then Giant, apparently remember he stole the US title belt from Flair. Then Flair got injured, and then Flair had to vacate the title because he's injured. So now we got a tournament tonight to see who is going to be the champion at Starrcade, the US champion at Starrcade. And that's how we start tonight. We got Lex Luger, we got Arn Anderson, and the first round of this WCW US title tournament, and it's 12 minutes and 56 seconds. Tell me, Joseph.
All right. I don't think this should be a match for a number of reasons.
Not at all.
No. One, Arn should have retired back when Luger beat him, or he shouldn't come back until Flair comes back, because I think that'd be more impactful. Lex honestly finished this feud a month ago, and this match to me has just no business existing. Or the alternative is that you have them on either sides of the tournament and they meet towards the end. Regardless, I just don't like this. The match itself is fine. They are good wrestlers. They know what they're doing. They work well together. But these two really just shouldn't face off against each other. They should have gone away from that. The Giant interrupts this match, grabs a mic in the crowd, and he claims the U.S. Championship belt is the most coveted belt in wrestling because it's his, which it technically isn't, but, they'll say it's number of time, 9/10 of the law, possession, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
He doesn't care about the tournament. He will remain champion regardless of who wins. Lex puts Arn in the rack, out of the ring, and both men get counted out with Luger refusing to let go. Now, the elimination of both men, I will say, is actually a pretty clever booking move for my money. I think the fact that if Lex stays in this tournament with him being really one of your top, let's say, 3 guys, how do you book that without him winning the heavyweight or the US title? So finding a reason for him to get himself kind of disqualified from the tournament and, eliminated, I think makes a lot of sense, because you can kind of go with the angle of like, well, these guys hate each other. They've always hated each other, blah, blah, blah. But then in a week, they're immediately going to go away from Lex and Arn again. And Arn's going to take it a different direction, which is like, well, then what was the point of this match again in the first place? So the match itself is fine. What they do in the ring is fine. I think the booking of having them both get eliminated is clever enough, so I'm going to give this a B.
I didn't mind it. I like Lex. I like Arn. I think it's fine. I agree that I think Arn's kind of on his farewell tour. This maybe, he should already maybe in the end, and the storyline was already completed. But it's for the tournament, so, it's perfectly fine. The countout was weird, right? Because he puts them in the torture rack outside of the ring, and that gets them counted out. But it works, because what else are you going to do? I mean, I guess Lex could win the U.S. title. Why not, right? Maybe they just say, all right, Giant, it's your title. You're facing Lex at Starrcade. I don't know. I thought it was okay. After that, though, we get some stills from World War III that I'm not allowed to tell you about, according to Joseph. So there were photos of matches that may or may not have happened. So you got to listen to Patreon to know if they happened. And then comes down the New World Order, minus Hogan, because he's, I'm sure, off filming a movie or something, because he's very important. Does a lot of good movies, like Santa with Muscles, which is not as good as Jingle All the Way, I must say.
Not even remotely.
No, not at all. Eric Bischoff is there because he's now in charge. He's the face, the spokesperson of NWO. What a waste of money Ted DiBiase's contract is. Like, why? We don't, as you know, we don't like this. We don't need to go into further detail about it. But Eric just says that after he took that power bomb, which was a great moment, fantastic moment, he decided whether or not he said some weird stuff about being consumed by the power or become the power. And now he wants to be the power. And because he's the highest executive in NWO and WCW, he's giving everyone an ultimatum in the locker room that they have 30 days to sign NWO contracts or NWO is coming after them. This causes Marcus Alexander Bagwell to come out and say, hey, I think I want to join you guys. And Scotty Riggs says, say it ain't so, Buff. And then Buff kill him. Buff give him a neck breaker and he dead. Scotty Riggs dead. And now Marcus Alexander Bagwell is the buffest of Bagwells. He is Buff Bagwell. And then I guess I would also mention, as you said, Eric Bischoff talks about how the Giants got the U.S. title, possessions 9/10 of the law. It's his. And I guess Eric Bischoff could just make that true if you want. I mean, he is in charge. So I didn't like this. Because it's Eric Bischoff and he shouldn't be in the NWO. I do like Buff Bagwell in NWO. I know a lot of people didn't like his addition because they felt like that was kind of a step down from, the cast of characters that are in NWO, and you kind of start getting more mid-Carter guys in it, and that kind of takes away the sheen. Fucking Vincent's in it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I think Buff Bagwell fits the bill. He works. I'm okay with Buff Bagwell. Eric Bischoff should have not. No.
Well, Buff Bagwell works because Buff Bagwell makes it work. He really does, take the ball and go with it. He becomes an actual upper mid card guy because of his work, what he does. And so he makes all that stuff work. I do want to touch back on a few things though that happen. We've spoken pretty negatively of Eric Bischoff joining the NWO, and nothing's going to change that. Let's just be fair. I do actually like heel Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff, when he was the general manager of Raw, like I loved that because when I was a kid, I fucking hated him. And that was the point, right? And so now looking back in retrospect, like he does a great job with that. He was so good in that role. But in this context, doesn't make sense storyline wise. We've beaten that to death. So we're just gonna move on. But he does say some interesting things. So he says, you mentioned you have 30 days. His exact words are that they have 30 days to convert their WCW contracts to NWO contracts. In 30 days and 1 minute, you are either with us or against us. 1, only a Sith deals with absolutes. 2, isn't this like with us or against us exactly what the NWO has been the entire fucking time? So what is the 30 days change beyond that? Like it's already the same exact idea, which again goes back to why is Bischoff part of this? He's just saying stuff that we've already been playing for the 30 days thing makes no sense to me. It should have just been, hey, you know what? We're holding open tryouts. Anybody who wants to join us can, and you have 30 days to do that. That would make more sense. And then you could have the Buff Bagwell thing where he comes in and like, well, how do we know that you're going to join us? And then he turns on Scotty Riggs and blah, 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 right? And it makes sense. And I think that would have elevated this more. But everything Bischoff says, it almost just feels like he didn't take the time to think about like what has happened leading up to this point. If you were going to join the NWO, you had to have a very creative reason for it, because you mentioned the power bomb. What a great moment that is. It is a great moment. Who the fuck, seeing that, would expect you to join the NWO? So the alternative to that is either, if that's what you want to make is you're like, this was the deciding factor, was I never wanted to be in a position where I was defenseless again. And with these guys, I am never defenseless and I get to lead them. Then I can buy into what you're saying. But instead, his whole thing is, I think he says, you can either be consumed by the power or become part of the force. What? What does that mean? Everything he says in this is
it's like poetry. It rhymes. Do you think George Lucas was watching this episode and going, oh yeah, that's a good line. I think I'll use that.
Dude, I love that George Lucas. That was so good.
You like that?
That was great. Oh my God.
That's a
You guys can't see this. My face lit up so fucking much. You listening to that? I love that. Yeah, I'll say I gave this a C because I like the Buff Bagwell stuff. I didn't like any of the Eric Bischoff stuff. I didn't hate it, but it was just like coherently, this doesn't make any sense.
Yes. That's all I gotta say. Is yes. After that, though, we got one of our favorites, one of our favorite wrestlers of all time. I know he's on your Mount Rushmore as one of the best, one of the greatest of all time. Your number one, maybe even. I know Shawn Michaels is your boy, but you might have to put him aside when I tell you who's up next.
CM Punk?
No. Diamond Dallas Page. No, I'm not talking about Diamond Dallas Page. He's in this match. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about your boy, Disco Inferno. Burn, baby, burn. Disco Inferno. Burn, baby. They should have bought that song. They should have bought the rights to that song. That should have been his theme song.
Just
right?
Tony Khan'd it and bought every single song.
Yeah, why not?
Just be throwing money down the drain.
The money
which they are.
Yeah, I mean, the money they saved from not signing Ted DiBiase, if you're just going to have fucking Eric Bischoff do his job, you probably could have bought Disco Inferno.
Yeah.
Anyways, tell me about this DDP Disco Inferno match, 2 minutes, 14 seconds.
Disco gets diamond cuttered immediately and loses, which, I mean, it really is a very quick match. That rolls right into Mean Gene interviewing DDP. And wouldn't you know it?
Guess what it's about?
Mean Gene wants to know if DDP really is joining the NWO or not. I will say I like this one a lot better, and I'll go into why. He says essentially, because look, he says all the same stuff, and DDP says, look, the NWO wants him because they want to build a dynasty, and what better way to do that than to stick the guy with the BADD baddest finisher on the planet in the NWO, which is fine. And then Gene says, look, I deserve answers. I've asked you for weeks. You've dodged it for weeks. I deserve answers. The crowd deserves answers. Is it not a fact that DDP is friends with Scott Hall? And DDP says, yeah, we go back. And then Mean Gene says, is it not a fact that DDP has a relationship with Kevin Nash? DDP says, yeah, we go back. And he says,
you're not going up there to fish.
Jesus.
I mean, define the relationship, bro.
Oh my God. If you guys didn't listen to Patreon, you don't know. Scott is sick and I am having crazy allergies right now. So we are less than 100%.
Delirious with fever.
This is killing me. Anyways, so he says, it's not a fact that Eric Bischoff is DDP's neighbor. And DDP says, yeah. Mean Gene says he cannot believe that DDP is not a member of the NWO. And DDP says he never knew what Eric Bischoff was up to. But he says that he wishes he didn't know now what he didn't know then. And then he leaves. So again, he never really says, I'm not part of the NWO or I'm not going to join them. But he does kind of condemn Bischoff for his decisions, which I do like. I also like that Mean Gene asked him more pointed questions. Not just they're courting you, but like, look, I'm just going to give you all the facts and answer them. And then DDP was forced to answer those questions, which I thought was enjoyable. So this time, even though we've done this 17 weeks in a row, I enjoyed this one. I gave it a B.
It's better, but it's also the same. They've been doing this stuff, like they were doing it with Sting, and they're doing it with Sting now again. Is he an NWO or not, right? Like, this gimmick, I don't care who they do it with at this point. I'm just tired of are they in NWO or are they not? Like, it's tired. Just, we don't need it. Just, they're in WCW until proven otherwise. I don't care. After that, though, earth-shaking development. This is amazing. This is in the record books. Write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Jot it down. November 25th, 1996. The World Television Championship is actually defended on an episode of Nitro and not 605 Saturday Night. My God. The television title is on their flagship television program. What is going on?
Wild.
Yeah. Lord Steven Regal versus baseball great Tony Pena. 3 minutes, 5 seconds for the World Television Championship. Tell me about this.
There's not much to this match. Regal wins very easily with a Regal stretch. This is a jobber match, but it's Regal, so I'm going to allow it. We finally get to see the TV title. We finally get to see Regal, who we haven't seen in weeks on Nitro. So I was at least happy to see him. And I think we'll see him again next week. So we're Actually, no, we do definitely see him next week. That's a banger match. So it's nice to just kind of see like some things finally happen the way we want them to. I gave it a C.
The Regal stretch to win it. Love me a Regal stretch. And it's also not the baseball player. Just for the record. People might think, oh shit, they got the baseball. No, it's not really the baseball player. After that, though, Gene Okerlund. I'm not going to yell it, though, because I don't want to lose my voice on these episodes like last time. He interviews Rick Steiner. The Steiner brothers say they 110. 100 plus 10. That's some Steiner math because you can't do more than 100%. Behind WCW. And they say, but what's up was in it? But they're like, hey, we just got. And then my favorite part though was like they just got back from Japan, so they don't know what the fuck's going on. And they're like, why is Sting up in the rafters? What's going on with that? Like, what is happening here? I got a chuckle out of that. Just the fish out of water, kind of like, what? What did you think of this?
I gave this a D. They don't say anything beyond we're 100% behind WCW. That's literally it. And then they just ramble for a while. So it's kind of like, okay. They
ramble about how they don't know what's going on and why is Sting up in the rafters, which I chuckled at.
That's fine. I will say this does get more entertaining, I think, as this night goes on, and then certainly as next week happens. So this is fine, but it's very quick. So I was just kind of like, whatever.
Hour number 2, man. We're just rolling here. We're rolling. What? Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, Bobby Heenan are on the commentary now. I don't even think I mentioned who was on commentary to start with because we got Tony and Larry Zbyszko. No Eric Bischoff anymore.
You never even did your like, hey, how you doing, Joseph thing in the beginning. We just rolled right into it.
Hey, Joseph, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good.
I know you're not doing all right. I mean, I already know how you're doing. We just did a Patreon.
You know what I should say, though? We should take a moment to say to the listeners, because this actually is important. So I think a few weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago, I teased reaching out to the people who are subscribed to our Patreon. And because we kind of were thinking of a Christmas idea. My wife had this idea. So we've done that. So if you are subscribed to our Patreon as part of the paid membership, check your emails. We sent you an email. It's labeled Christmas Time. It's from us. It's not a scam. One of our subscribers did write back because I then message everybody through Patreon to let them know to look for it. But he did write back, thank you for messaging me on Patreon because I genuinely thought this was a scam. And so it made me chuckle. But basically what we're going to do is we're asking you for your addresses so we can send you something. Also, it may not be a bad idea to send your shirt size too. Just so you know.
Just saying. Won't tell you what it is though.
Yeah.
It's not a scam. All we need is your social security number or whatever equivalent they have in Germany.
Correct.
Your mother's maiden name. The street you grew up on.
Yeah. Name of your first pet.
Name of your first pet. Your home address.
Yeah.
The name of if you have a wife or a husband, what their names are, and their date of births as well. We just need all of that, and your shirt size.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's totally not a scam.
Not
totally
even
not a scam.
Yeah.
I'm glad when you started that, you said, remember how I said this? And I thought you were going to be like, yeah, we're not going to do it. So I'm so glad there was a happy ending to that and that our Patreon subscribers are going to have a wonderful Christmas time.
Now, because I followed through so late, I will just let you know there is a chance that somebody might get something after Christmas, but the minute that we send those things out, I'll be sure to email you guys and let you guys know.
Yeah, it's got a long ways to travel to Ronnie there in Germany. It might not.
Ronnie ain't no way you're getting in time for Christmas.
Unless you're Orthodox, Ronnie, because then it's like in January or February. So
yeah, or
convert.
Or, we just give it to Santa.
That's true. I would just say that he should just convert to Orthodoxy so it gets there on time. Just think about it. Just think about it, Ronnie. Just think about it. Anyways, let's get back to the actual program here that people are listening for. Like half our viewers already tuned out going, I'm not listening to this shit. One of my friends said that if he hears people, when he's listening to a podcast, if someone starts going off on a tangent about someone else, he turns it off. And I'm like, well, then you ain't listening to our pod, bro.
Yeah.
So, because we on tangents all the time.
Hopefully that wasn't Merck's.
No, it wasn't. It was someone who does not listen to our podcast. He was just saying it in general about podcasts.
Then fuck him.
Yeah. So let's get back on topic. The new Grill Master. What do you think about? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Conan versus Eddie Guerrero for the U.S. title tournament match. This first round here. Tell me about this banger, because we got Eddie, we got Conan. We love him. We got the bout it. 5 minutes, 23 seconds.
This is a very good match given the talent. And at one point, Conan dives off the turnbuckle into a drop kick from Eddie that looked disastrous, but I mean that in a positive way. Conan decides to not finish this match and play with Eddie a little bit when he has him for a clear 1, 2, 3. And he goes for a power bomb that Eddie is supposed to counter into a Rana and a pin, but it gets sloppy and both men just kind of collapse on each other, and Eddie pins him that way and gets the win. So this match was probably going to be a B+, but the finish was really like, what just happened? So I'm giving it a B-.
And there you have it. We got some stills from World War III that I'm not allowed to talk about because you have to subscribe to the Patreon. Joseph told me I'm not allowed to even tell you. Am I even allowed to tell them there were photos? World War III?
I'll let you say that there were photos.
And if you want to know what the matches were, you got to listen to the Patreon or just look it up anywhere because the match tables are everywhere.
Look, there's a lot of free ways to do this, but don't do those.
Don't do those because you don't get the award-winning commentary.
Yeah, you don't get to listen to us completely sick, just losing it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Rick Steiner, Big Bubba. Rick Steiner made a mistake talking shit about Sting. Tell me about this one, because speaking of losing it, Sting gonna lose it on Rick Steiner's ass.
I was waiting to see how you were going to tie that together.
Yeah.
You're like, speaking of losing it, and then I was like, go ahead. All right, so not only did he talk
like a bow just in time for Christmas.
Ooh, I like that. Not only does Steiner talk shit previously, but he also talks shit as he comes down to the ring. He tells straight into the camera he can't believe he can no longer trust Sting. Now, the match itself is honestly a very decent for TV match. Like, I really like this matchup. I was like, Big Bubba, we've talked about the negatives of Big Bubba, the wrestler we like. We like Big Bubba, the wrestler, a lot. Obviously, we prefer Big Boss Man. And so seeing two good wrestlers who are just big guys who are just going to, completely clobber each other is a good idea. Also, Scott Steiner is hurt right now. He has not come back from his injury, so he can't do anything. So at least you get, Rick Steiner some TV time. So this match is going on, and then Sting decides to come down through the audience and enters the ring. He hits the Scorpion Death Drop with the ref distracted, and then Bubba gets the win. This is a B from me. Most of it's for Sting because I like the storyline that's going on with him, but the match itself was pretty good.
Oh, that was just abrupt. I thought you okay?
Yeah, I just I didn't have a segue like you did.
Yeah, man, I'm the king of
my shit's not in time for Christmas at all.
I tell you, I'm the king of segues. You might as well call me Paul Blart Mall Cop when I'm writing these segues.
I loved you just fumbling through.
Whatever, man. Whatever. I'm the king of segues. Shut up. Anyway. Yeah, this is a new angle with Sting that I kind of like. Sting just like, no, don't keep my name out of your mouth. I hate all of you. He just hate everybody.
And I can respect that.
Yeah, and you know what? And the people are like, oh my God, is this Proovies with NWO? No, NWO just smart. They just know not to talk shit about the guy. He's gonna wreck their asses because that's all it is.
If anything, the NWO has done the exact opposite. They've completely complimented him since he went all black and white.
As they should, because I'd be scared. I don't want a Scorpion Death Drop. I don't want it. I do not want it. But after that, we got the highlight of the night. We got the most important event of the night.
I'm honestly a little bit disappointed that you went from I don't want it and not into, but you know what I do want? And then.
All right, okay. Just cut all that shit. Cut all that shit. Here we go.
Got you.
Here we go.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to cut any of that, are you?
Not even remotely.
Nope. I'm going to do it anyways. But what I do want, what I really, really want, what I really, 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 really want is On the Road with Lee Marshall. He's in Dayton, Ohio, because that's where Nitro going to be next week. And you know what's happening in Dayton, Ohio?
Well, I know that he is battered and bruised, but if you want to know why, you guys subscribe to our Patreon, $2 a month.
But he's being re-energized. He's being brought back because he's at Nitro party. And they got games. They got games at this Nitro party. They got everything. You know what the game is, Joseph?
Maybe like a pin the tail kind of game.
You're right. You're very close. Pin the tail on the weasel.
Whoa.
Yeah. Take that, Bobby. What'd you think about this, Joseph? Fantastic. I know.
It's great.
I know
It's
you
get
felt.
it's automatic A. The man is an artist.
We love Lee Marshall. Yeah, he's painting his masterpiece on these because they're just so absurd. And we really like a little absurdity in our wrestling. But what isn't absurd? Well, I guess what is kind of absurd, what's insane, actually, is we got a little psychosis in our next match. He's going against Rey Mysterio Jr. They're going to fight it out. But only 2 minutes, 20 seconds, Joseph. That's not enough time for these two. Tell me.
That's the insane part, if we're being honest. This is a very fun match, but incredibly quick. So I'm going to kind of grade it on a curve for that. It ultimately sees Rey counter an Avalanche Outsider's Edge into a Rana for the 1-2-3. Like you said, it's only like 2 minutes, which is just not enough time for these. And you know what? I'm glad that they're going to use that time to replay some shit that they should have just had as a segment on freaking Nitro and not on the pay-per-view. That's going to be great. This gets a B.
It's too short, but as you're right, they needed to make it short because they had a lot of good information that they had to give us next. Like re-airing friggin' 20 minutes or something of the Piper Hogan contract signing from the pay-per-view. The entire thing, which was way too long at the pay-per-view, and they're showing it again, and it's way too long again. What the hell? This is a WWF style mistake.
Yes.
What are you doing, Nitro?
It's bad.
Yeah, I assume you don't have a whole lot to say beyond this is terrible, but you got anything?
No, I'm not going to grade it. It's not even there. It's not even a segment for Nitro. It's just bad. Shouldn't have happened.
And to find out how we felt about it, we didn't like it. Listen to the Patreon.
You fool!
It's too long. It's just too long. After that, we got Alex Wright, the Wunderkind, which I'm excited about because we haven't seen Alex in a while.
I do got to say, I think we missed something, sir.
What do we miss?
I think we missed a Mean Gene interview with Chris Benoit.
Did I have that? Well, then tell me about it, stud.
Benoit says he is still here and that Sullivan didn't get rid of his problems. He just made them worse. Benoit's completely bruised, by the way, like his whole face. I don't know if that's makeup or if it's actually, it looks pretty convincing, if we're being honest. He says, one man, not only was your best not enough, but the whole Dungeon of Doom wasn't enough to get rid of one man. He says, look into my eyes, look into my soul. What do you see? Your former self, the hunger, the desire, the need. There's two ways out of this, the man's way and the coward's way. He says he's well aware of Sullivan's corporate ties with WCW, alluding to him being the head booker, and that Sullivan knows what strings to pull to have Benoit shipped out. But does Sullivan want to be remembered as a coward? After last Saturday, Benoit can't answer that. Then woman says she told Sullivan if he kicked Benoit one more time, it was over. Sullivan had told her it had been over for a long time. Well, she's making the decision, it's over. This segment's kind of a weird one. Ignoring the hindsight 2020 stuff, which we did a whole episode on that. We're not going to go into it again. The promo from Benoit is actually his best to date. However, it suffers from Bret Hart syndrome. There are a number of beats where it logically should have ended, but it continues and continues and continues. Woman's entire end of this should have just been left out. Nothing she said added anything to this. But Benoit has a true intensity here that he has never had. He looks like he wants to kill Sullivan, which may have been a very poor choice of words. I gave this a B.
Oh.
That's what it looked like. I don't know what to tell you.
You can't say the kill word around Benoit.
You can't say anything around Benoit.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah. Yeah. My God. So thanks for noticing that segment, taking us to a real dark place. I must have gone on my pee break during the Rowdy Piper reshoot because, I mean, why not? I've already seen it, and I must have missed it. So let's get back to it, though, because I want to talk about Alex Wright because he hasn't been on the show.
You know who else wants to talk about Alex Wright?
Who?
Our boy Ronnie Schmidt.
Man, Germany's finest. Alex Wright, Jeff Jarrett. We haven't seen Alex in a while, so I was excited to see Alex. I do like Alex Wright.
Yeah.
Hey, but it's only 2 minutes, 19 seconds, and we know what's going to happen here. That it's unfortunate. Tell me.
Boy, if only there wasn't an entire replay segment that was like 30 fucking minutes long that you could have just removed and had two much better matches given their proper amount of time. Is a really cool idea for a TV match. However, it ends very quickly with a Jeff Jarrett figure four, so I can only give this a C. It's unfortunate. I would have loved this. Could have been a very strong B match if they had the time for it, and they just didn't.
Well, and the crazy thing too is they got a lot of matches tonight. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 matches. Not as many as they have next week. Next week they might break the record for most matches. It's insane. Just take one of them out and give everybody else a little bit more time, or just don't show the Roddy Piper Hogan thing in its entirety. Just show some stills like everything else,
or some clips, like just that could have been a 2-minute segment. Instead, they wasted so much time.
Yeah. Because after the match, we get more stills from World War III. Why are you even paying for the pay-per-view? You're getting it all. You're getting it all on Nitro. It's crazy. Anyways, that takes us to our main event, which is Harlem Heat versus the Faces of Fear. That's a pretty solid main event. 4 minutes, though. Only 4 minutes for these two tag teams. I feel like they should have gone longer. Tell me.
Faces of Fear are on my shit list now, and you have to subscribe to our Patreon to find out why. $2 a month.
I still like them, though.
This is a very fun, honest tag team match that we really haven't had of late, so it's nice to see it back. That was until the NWO just run in and beat the hell out of both teams. Giant choke slammed Booker T, and we fade to black with the NWO standing tall. I enjoyed it. The ending, again, they're going to do the NWO stuff. I get that. But again, just another match that was, unfortunately didn't have enough time. So I'm giving it a B, but it wasn't amazing.
It ends in a kind of a typical fashion with NWO clearing out the place, showing that they're top dogs, all that. It is what it is. I really would have liked a longer match between these two tag teams because I think, maybe beyond the Steiner brothers, who Scott's hurt right now, are these our two best tag teams? I would probably, right? Who else do we got besides Steiners, and Scott's not wrestling?
I mean, maybe Nasty Boys.
The best, though?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't hate the Nasty Boys, but I think Harlem Heat and Faces of Fear are definitely...
Oh, your boys, Public Enemy.
All right, we're moving on. We're moving on. I can't. I will not even respond to that. I can't believe you would make that kind of joke, talking up a wrestler who I don't like. I would never do that to you.
Absolutely, you wouldn't.
Yeah. So Disco Inferno, though, he's really good, and I know you love him. So, which I did earlier in the show. Anyway, moving on. WWF Raw.
Do we have to, though?
I was thinking every week I ask this question. I'm going to ask it again because it might be. Is this the worst episode of Raw ever?
No. And here's how I know this.
Okay.
Because even though I don't remember the episode where we talked about, was it like where we actually made that the episode titled The Worst Raw Ever, the next week's episode of Raw is fucking worse than this week's episode of Raw. So I know that this can't be the worst one.
It's just so bad, though.
It is.
Every episode, I'm honest to God, is this the worst? This might be the worst. It's not. I agree with you. I think the one we titled the worst episode might still hold the title for worst episode, but they're just so bad. Anyways, this one's at the New Haven Coliseum in New Haven, Connecticut, and we start out reasonably with Bret Hart and Owen Hart going at it in a 12-minute, 30-second match, and you're thinking, how can this be one of the worst nights ever? Well, because that's the main event. And we out, because honestly I was looking because New Haven, Connecticut, not that far from Salisbury, Maryland. I was like, could you catch the first match of Raw, get on a plane and make it to Nitro? You could, and I would have highly recommended that if you were in the stands for Raw tonight. just catch that Bret Hart Owen match, hop on a plane to Salisbury, Maryland, and then just catch the second hour of Nitro. It would have been a much better time spent for you. But tell me about the Bret Hart Owen Hart match, because it's a good one.
Look, this is a fun match. Like you could expect anything less from these two, but it ultimately ends with Stone Cold Steve Austin running in and clobbering Bret with the chair. The rest of the Hart family and notable Cincinnati, Canada alum Brian Pillman join in on the beatdown. Bulldog, though, doesn't really like what he's seeing, and he tries to stop them. Owen and Bulldog argue over this, and Austin has had enough, so he just slaps Bulldog across the back with the chair as Owen yells at him, and then we fade to commercial. Like you said, this is a very fun start. It got an A for me. A lot of storyline stuff going on here, especially now we have like our Owen and Bulldog on the outs. We have the Bret Hart Stone Cold stuff continuing. We have the fact that Brian Pillman's from Canada. This is a great hot
Groundbreaking
start.
stuff.
Yeah, it's a great hot start that will undoubtedly fade as the show goes on. And we have our next segment.
The executioner. It's the executioner and Freddie Joe Floyd in a match. What? You should see the look on my face right now because it's 3 minutes 20 seconds. Just talk about it.
This might be the record for breakdown of a match. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? It hasn't started yet. Tell me start, and then that's when the time goes.
Start.
Executioner wins with no joke. The Asian Spike. It gets an F.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing is bad. Like the executioner shouldn't be wrestling because he gone.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sad. Like Terry Gordy gone. And again, we've talked about it. I respect that, Michael P. Hayes and Vince McMahon are like, yeah, well, he's a shell
of you. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a shell of a man, but we'll get him paid. But as you were talking about on the Patreon and how there's better ways to use old famous talent than just throwing them in matches that they're not equipped for anymore.
Right.
There are better ways to get Terry Gordy paid than this, but Vince don't know any of those ways.
And he'll never know. He'll never know.
Because I support the getting Terry Gordy paid, not like this.
Yeah, not like this.
And not against Freddie Joe Floyd. Because, oh my God, it's bad. But it just it keeps going. It just keeps going. At least, though, the next part is okay. Because we get Shawn Michaels at Jose Lothario's house with Jose Lothario. They're there. Shawn doesn't look like he wants to be there. Shawn's very grumpy. He's very mad in this whole segment, which I assume means that Jose doesn't have alcohol in his house.
Or pills.
Or pills or anything.
Yeah.
I did notice, though, in the back, because they make a point of like zooming in on it. There's an old photo of Jose in the back that clearly was not there. It's from somewhere else in the house. And they've just set it on like a pink box. And it's just they zoom in on it and they zoom out, and it's like between the shoulders of Shawn and Jose, and they zoom in on it and then they zoom out and they're there, which I think it's a clever angle, but the way the photo is staged just looks terrible, and I laughed out loud at it. But Shawn get mad.
He does,
and I kind of like it.
I agree.
What do you think?
So Jose starts by apologizing to Shawn, feeling guilty for HBK's title loss, and Shawn's like, look, it's not your fault. Jose, though, apparently needs heart surgery. HBK says he doesn't know where he lost his edge, and he isn't making excuses for the loss, but he will be WWF champion again. He's incensed at Sid and says that he had the audacity to hit a 62-year-old man, and he wants Sid. He doesn't even care about Bret Hart. He wants Sid. He goes on a long rant about how he doesn't care if people like him or hate him, and kind of all this stuff. He's just going to be him. Now, overall, the rant is fine. He will repeat this whole spiel in a few months to a much better effect, mostly because it's not just him that's changing. A lot of things around him are changing too, and it makes it work a lot better. But this is a lot of fun. I gave this a B. It's a little too long, but it's a fiery Shawn Michaels, which is much better than pure babyface Shawn.
It's kind of an attitude era comes early promo, I felt.
Yeah, it's like a little glimpse of what you're going to get.
Yeah, which is okay. Another highlight of the night for me was the Karate Fighters segment, because I thought it was kind of fun. It's Sonny versus Sable. Sonny wins, and then we find out that Sonny's put gum on her Karate Fighter so it won't fly off. And then Sable wins because Sonny got caught cheating, which I thought was actually kind of a fun way to handle that. I mean, it's product placement. They're sponsoring. They sponsored the pay-per-view. You got to do this sort of stuff, whatever. I actually enjoy the product placement. I think it's kind of fun. And when they do it fun like this, I was like, yeah, works for me. I'm okay with this. It's better than the matches. It's better than our next match. at least.
So I do want, if we were doing video, which we don't have that capability yet, but if we were doing video, I would put
It's coming.
inside in this moment, I would put the minute that little clip from SNL Weekend Update when David Spade's like, "Hey, look, kids, a falling star," but about Sonny, because that's literally what this is. Like, this is literally this match hilariously is a perfect analogy for what's going to happen between these two. One's going to fall right off a cliff and the other one is just going to keep on going.
You know, I didn't even think about that. That's a great point you made about how this is kind of like almost a literal torch passing of these two. That Sonny was the hotness, and now Sable's the hotness. Sable's got the Vince's affection now.
She's even doing like seductive stuff, like when she's talking about like her figure, whatever it is, and which we haven't seen from her. She's been very like, I don't want to say goody two shoes, but very just kind of prim and proper. And, you know, she's like very clearly beautiful, but she is, you know, this is Wildman Mark Marrow's wife. That's kind of what the thing is. Now she's all of a sudden like being a little, you know, promiscuous or whatever, and nothing like what's going to happen, not even remotely. But you can see that it's like, oh, okay, this is they've found their new Sonny, because that is essentially what she was intended to be, because Sonny had a locker room issue repeatedly, and so they kind of were like, let's find another one so we don't have to rely on just this.
Yeah, let's find a more savory individual, because from what I understand, Sable is a good person.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard anything about her in the locker room.
I'm sure the fact you've never heard anything about her means that no news is kind of good news, I think, in the wrestling world. If you don't hear anything about it, it means that they're probably okay people.
Yeah. It is also one of those things where, like, when they have a story about someone come out, I always look at who told the story. That's one of my first things I ask, is who told the story, because the headline can be, you know, Shawn Michaels did blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, fine. We all know Shawn Michaels is a piece of shit, but who told that story?
As told by Bret Hart.
Well, no, because Bret Hart, at least, like, yeah, he's Bret Hart is definitely biased 100%.
Hates Shawn Michaels.
But well, I think they're fine now, to be fair. I think they're fine now. But there's pieces of truth with Bret Hart, right? But there's certain people where when they start spouting off, and Shawn Michaels is a poor use because he's obviously got a history. But there's certain people when they spout off and they go, oh, this person was a bag of shit for this reason, and then you go, oh, this was the source? No, that dude's a fucking piece of shit. Like, no.
Yeah, Bret Hart doesn't make things up. Bret Hart tells real events, his version of real events, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is how I saw it.
Yeah.
This is how I was wronged.
Yeah. This is how I was wronged, and fuck Bill Goldberg.
Yes. And we'll get to that. We will. We absolutely will eventually get to that.
We will. And frankly, should have happened sooner. Anyways.
My God. Jesus. We're just delaying because we don't want to talk about any more Raw, because it just, oh my God, it just keeps going. Next up, Rocky Maivia versus Salvatore Sinceri.
God damn it.
Yeah. And Sunny is here. She's on commentary because Rocky is kind of the new apple of her eye. She thinks he's the next one that's got potential. She thinks that she's dumped Billy Gunn because he lost the titles, and she goes with the gold. She thinks Rocky is gonna make a run and get some gold, and she's interested. She likes this.
Yeah, which I don't mind, by the way. To be fair, I think that works really well. That is kind of the character we want from Sunny. WWF never really figures out that's what her character should be. Like, they do and they don't, like, routinely. But we get a picture-in-picture of both Captain Lou Albano and Don Morocco. I believe this was at Survivor Series when they're doing the Hall of Fame, talking about what a big star Rocky Maivia will be. Jerry calls Rocky Maivia Pineapple Head due to his hairstyle. And guess what, Scott?
What?
I actually thought this was pretty funny.
It's not bad.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of works.
Because it's insulting someone's appearance, but it's absurd. So it's fun.
Yes.
So
this is appropriate, Jerry. This is appropriate heel.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. I thought that was good. So Jerry Lawler, tip of the hat to you, you fucking piece of shit. Anyways,
oh my God.
Eventually, Rocky Maivia hits the shoulder breaker, which, again, I have to say, is such a dog shit finisher, and he gets the win. I gave this a D. It's not a good match. Salvatore Sinceri is fucking horrible.
I mean, you say that the shoulder breaker isn't a great finisher, but then, The Rock, who Rocky Maivia becomes, never had any iconic finishers.
No, never. Not a single one.
None of them. He didn't have multiple
Yeah. He also can't make something that is inherently a dog shit finisher one of the greatest of all time.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Can't do it. Can't be done. So yeah, that sucked. And then after that, though, we got more shit. Well, I guess we get Mark Marrow, because Mark Marrow's in our main event, which we like Mark Marrow, but it's versus Billy Gunn, and that should not be the main event. Like, you had your main event. It was Bret Hart, Owen Hart. Why are we still doing the first match of the night as the main event thing? I don't. When you're fighting for your life, why are you encouraging people to tune out after your first match? It's crazy to me. But yeah, he just says Mark Marrow's ready for Billy Gunn, and supposedly Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, is going to be on commentary, and Mark Marrow says that don't bother him at all, because as we know, Triple H is trying to seduce Sable, trying to get her to join his harem of women, and Mark Marrow says he's not worried about that. Then we go to Doc Hendricks, and British Bulldog and Owen Hart, they're gonna go beat Steve Austin's ass. We get that live. They're just like, we're mad, which I kind of liked that. They're just like, we're just pissed. We're gonna go beat this dude's ass. Which I liked that. That was okay.
Yeah.
But none of it makes up for Billy Gunn, Mark Marrow match of the night main event. What the fuck? It ends on a DQ. 8 minutes, 12 seconds. What is happening?
Yeah. Okay. So I will say I'm okay with the idea of it being the main event in the same way that I'm okay with Harlem Heat and Faces of Fear being the main event. Does that make sense? Like, neither of those are your upper echelon. It's fine. Yes, you're absolutely right. Given what we had as the first match, that should have been main event. There's no question about that. But I just mean in general, if this was just a standard episode, I'm okay, because I don't mind these guys standing in the company.
You think Billy Gunn, Mark Marrow is on par with Harlem Heat, Faces of Fear?
Yeah.
You're in a dark place because of what Faces of Fear did. This is ludicrous.
What have either of those teams, like, okay, Harlem Heat, yes, they've been multiple time tag team champions, but Faces of Fear, as much as we love them, WCW doesn't treat them the way that we love them.
Yeah, but they're wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree though. But it's the same thing with this, right? Like, Mark Marrow's been an IC champion, but really doesn't get treated the way that that we love him. Billy Gunn, obviously tag team champion previously, also doesn't get treated the way that we love him.
You might be right, but I'm not going to admit it. You're wrong. Whatever. Go on. Keep spouting bullshit.
You want to hear some bullshit, Scott?
The WWF tonight?
Well, yes, but specifically, Marrow doesn't even get an entrance. Billy Gunn gets one. Mark Marrow, again, was just IC champion, doesn't get an entrance. Billy immediately attacks Marrow. This match is fine and far more deserving of the main event than whatever the fuck we watched last week. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember we are having the same discussion about how is this your main event. Not by much, to be clear. That being said, Hunter's on commentary, and I will say, gets a lot of great character work talking about how he only ever used Sable in the past, and that life is using other people to get what you want and things of that nature. Marrow's in control when Hunter says Sable's having a problem and he needs to go help her. Marrow notices Helmsley and clocks him, but Gunn hits Marrow from behind. Gunn wraps up Marrow and Helmsley starts to punch him like a couple of degenerates.
Whoa.
My next note here was, fuck, we're still like a year away.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Jake the Snake goes in for the save. I don't know why.
Why? Yeah, why?
But okay.
Why?
I gave this a C. It's not horrible, but it's like, all right. So that's how we end the show. That's it.
It's over. But I'm appalled by the fact that you don't remember the main event from last week, which was Doug Furnas and Phil LaFawn versus Leif Cassie and Bob Holly. How could you not remember that?
Oh my God.
And again, started the night Steve Austin and Mankind.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we first started this, you talked about that this was a thing that they used to do where like they started with like their main event. It's like an old school kind of wrestling thing where you start with your main event, which fine. You're in the fight of your life.
Losing.
And you've lost for some umpteenth number of weeks now. And you, like, the simplest thing is like, hey, we should keep people watching for the entire show, right?
Listen, Scott, I like WWF.
Okay.
So I think I can
yes
WWF.
Yeah.
Booking is the moon to them.
It is. It is. I mean, what is the logic here? Is the logic maybe that you tune in for the first match and then you just like people are just too lazy to change the channel? Like I am I overthinking this? Are they putting any thought into it, or is it just that's the way we've always done it?
I think it's defiance. I think it's defiance, right? This is what's worked in the past, so it's going to work. Nope.
Yeah, I would be doing everything I could to get people to watch the whole show. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to put your main event at the end so people watch the whole show. Because they don't know when the main event's going to start. Like when it's the first, they know when it's going to start. It's going to start at 8 or 8:01 or whatever. But the main event, if it's the main event, last match of the night, I don't actually know when it's going to start. It could be a 40-minute match for all I know. I got to be watching because I'm going to miss it if I don't. Right? And I don't know. You put a good match at the beginning. You put a good match at the end. The rest can be filler. I'm not in the industry, but that's just how you do it. It's like anything, right? It's like making an album back when albums were like important, when people made albums, music albums, right? You started with a great track, you end with a great track. It's kind of like a roller coaster. Like you just kind of highs and lows, highs and lows, highs and lows, right? Like there's a structure to these things. There's a structure to a novel. Your first chapter's got to be a banger. You want to pull people in. Obviously, it's got to have a great ending. Everything works this way. Movies work this way. You got to have a hot opening scene and a hot conclusion, right? Everything works this way. Why doesn't WWF figure this out? Why don't they know how to do this? Answer me. I want answers. Every form of media works this way. Why doesn't WWF?
See, I feel like Jim Cornette should have been leading booking at this time. And he should with the whole table of everybody there, right? And he should have been like, look, is there any other tag team like the Outsiders? And they'd go, no. And they go, and if there was, could we afford them? And they'd go, no. And he'd go, then what the fuck are we talking about, man?
They should be getting people that get on base. They got to replace the Outsiders and the Aggregate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. These are Moneyball references, if you don't know. Also, the Moon one was a Moneyball reference,
yes,
by the way. I really just don't get the logic. Like, I really kind of, if we could get someone who worked at WC or WWF on the show, I would love to just ask them why.
You know what's funny is I joked about Cornette. He may be the only one
that would come on the show.
Yeah, I don't know how he would do it. We try to reach out to him, but he may be the only one who'd be like, yeah, I'd be willing to shit on some people for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah, love you, Jim. We're big fans of you. We talked about this. I think we talked about this on. We talked about this on this one or on the Patreon. Where we talked about how Lex was kind of one of our most surprising. Likable.
That was the Patreon.
Patreon. Okay, I can't talk more about that then because you got to subscribe $2 a month. But I feel like Jim Cornette's up there too, where I didn't know. I was unfamiliar with Jim Cornette's name, and I apologize. Oh, I do not get it. I don't understand. I know nothing about this business. I've never worked in wrestling. I know nothing, but I watch it and I kind of know how structure works and everything else. And I just don't understand why they don't do that. It was funny. I was playing 2K24 yesterday. I was playing the
GM.
My GM mode, which sucks. Which should be so much better, but it's not. But I was playing it just because I could play it on my Steam Deck. It's because it's just clicking buttons, right? It's not like actually wrestling and trying to work the knobs and the doohickeys and all that. I had a kind of a shitty week where my matches didn't perform really well, or like my middle match was much better than my other two. Because it's only 3 matches, and much like Raw is right now. My GM, it's only 3 fucking matches a week. It's true. And so my first match didn't really hit, and my main event didn't really hit, but my middle match was a banger. They had a great match, and Trips texts me because they text in the game, and he says, "Hey, your first match and your last match are supposed to be your best matches. You don't want your middle match, overshadowing them." And it's like, thanks, Trips. Get in a fucking time machine and go tell Vince McMahon in 1996 to do that. Oh, so who won?
WCW.
Yeah, it goes without saying. You wonder, how did they win so many weeks? It's because Raw's dog shit. It's so bad. Every week, I legitimately go, is this the worst? And it's not, but it's pretty damn close. I think I'm done.
Yeah, I'm done too.
I mean with everything.
Oh, okay.
Goodbye, everybody. This is the last one we're doing until we do the next one.
Yeah, it's the last one until next week.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye, guys. Hey, everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.